Okay. Namaste, everybody, and welcome to this talk about Ahimsa. First of all, I want to thank Kalyan Yoga, Adam and Sabina, for inviting me to share about this topic. Um, through all the month of August and the next months. So you hear me well? Testing again. Okay. So through all the month of August, there will be 4 talks about the same topic given from 4 different people to have different perspectives of all. So this month is Ahimsa, and I'm giving the second talk, so we still have Stephen and Luna to go after me. We had Adam already. And Kalyan Yoga will be offering a 4-week meditation course online. So if you want to know more about this, you can go to www.kalyanyoga.com. Okay, so I want to start with a moment of silence, so and awareness, so we can close our eyes and simply start arriving to the space wherever you are. Feeling everything that is arousing. And we center in the middle of the heart, a little bit to the right, our spiritual heart, our center. And slowly, with awareness, you can start to open the eyes. Namaste again, and thank you for taking your time to be in this talk. Today I will be sharing about Ahimsa. Ahimsa is a Sanskrit word and it means non-violence. So here you can see the Ahimsa. The A means non or without, and Himsa is violence or injury or harm. So the word will translate to non-harm or without harm or non-violence, non-injury. Is one of the yamas of Patanjali. So Patanjali is this Indian sage that wrote well, not just him, but the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So the yamas and niyamas are these moral and ethical behaviors with ourselves and with others. So a yama would be like a self-constraint. And more than this ethical and moral are a way of having this discipline and attitude that we can create. So the first one of the yamas of Patanjali is Ahimsa. And normally we maybe it's more familiar to us to see the Ahimsa coming from Patanjali, but actually Ahimsa was already seen in other texts, like in the Vedic texts, like the Rig Veda, that was composed like 1,000 years before the Yoga Sutras. So it's been with us for a very, very long time. And in all religions, we have it in Hinduism, in Buddhism, in Jainism. And actually, the symbol that you see here is from the Jainism or Buddhism and Hinduism use it too, and you can see it in some of the temples. And it's the wheel of Dharma, representing non-violence as it is. So yes, as I was saying, the yamas and niyamas, in the other text, in the Vedic text, they used to have 10 of each. But Patanjali just chose 5 to be 5 yamas and 5 niyamas, to be kind of to really deepen and for the aspirant and the yogi to focus in these ones. So Ahimsa is not just about a physical harm. It's in speech too, and in thought, to not be violent, and in action and in deed. So when are we violent and how are we violent? Like even in all our life, we are so used to seeing violence everywhere and hearing violence everywhere, and we don't even realize that we are acting in a very violent way. So Ahimsa is one, even if you are not speaking about religion. Just if you're a human being, you can feel, of course, that you don't want to be acting in a violent way in any ways. And so Ahimsa is the key virtue in Hinduism and in Jainism and in Buddhism. And we can see even in Jainism, it's in the Great Vows, is one of the first of the Great Vows. And it says, because Jains in Jainism, they believe in the law of karma. So they say the worst karmic defilement of the soul takes place when one causes hurt to any other creature. So of course, we don't want to harm. And even to just say what Ahimsa is, I would love to say a mantra that I'm sure everybody or most of you are familiar with it, that is Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. From this simple mantra, and so beautiful and profound, we can understand that the meaning of this mantra is, may all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may the thoughts, words, and action of my own life contribute in some way to that happiness and to that freedom for all. So with this we can say this is Ahimsa. Swami Satchitananda, this Indian religious teacher, said, I'm going to be reading some quotes because I find it very beautiful and very easy to understand what Ahimsa is like this. So one of the quotes of Swami Satchitananda is, the 5 points of yamas together with the 5 points of niyamas remind us of the 10 commandments of the Christian and Jewish faiths, as well as the 10 virtues of Buddhism. In fact, there is no religion without these moral or ethic codes. All spiritual life should be based on these things. They are the foundation stones without which we can never build anything lasting. So even if you're a Christian, a Buddhist monk, a Sufi, a Taoist, a unicorn, you want to have this as your main practice. It seems it's such essential to just practice ahimsa, non-violence. It's a human global practice. So ahimsa is one of them. It is very important to purify in the mind. How many times we have so many thoughts and negative thoughts and violent thoughts and just judging thoughts. So the first step is to purify and to create more awareness about this. So the most pollutant in the mind is its violence. So as I said, whenever you're having a negative thought, that's creating violence already. In all traditions, we hear this: "Thou shalt not kill." You should not kill. Life is precious. And it is. And who wants to live in a violent world? And it's not through love that we should move into love instead of violence. So ahimsa means controlling our anger, our aggression with ourselves, with others, and to overcome these tendencies that come of aggression. So we need to create more awareness and self-control. So the solution to violence is love. And of course, love is the answer for everything, even if we don't understand it or if it feels too cheesy. But it's the solution to create a universal love and empathy for life. So there's a quote that, since I started this journey, has been with me very present, and I feel it's really what we are speaking about here. So I will share it. It's a quote from Eckhart Tolle, that is this contemporary German spiritual teacher. So it goes like this. If you want to close your eyes and feel it, you're welcome to do it. If her past were your past, her pain your pain, her level of consciousness your level of consciousness, you would think and act exactly as she does. With this realization comes forgiveness, compassion, and peace. So I feel it's quite self-explanatory. I find it's a beautiful quote, and it's really like In Spanish we say ponerte en los zapatos de alguien más. So I guess this would translate in English like putting yourself in the shoes of someone else. I don't know if that exists in English. But is this creating empathy and feeling this, that if someone went through something, if you went to the same thing, you would completely act as that person. And I'm not saying this as a because I feel like this I can react in a violent way. Not at all. It's just to create empathy with the situation from the maybe that other people is going through. And non-violence doesn't mean passivity or inertia or lack of power. On the contrary, it is a power and its true strength because it is rooted in our heart. I will share a quote by Dalai Lama. Non-violence does not mean that we remain indifferent to a problem. On the contrary, it is important to be fully engaged. However, we must behave in a way that does not benefit us alone. We must not harm the interest of others. Non-violence, therefore, is not merely the absence of violence. It involves a sense of compassion and caring. It is almost a manifestation of compassion. So again, I want to be very clear about that non-violence doesn't mean that you should be a doormat and that you let yourself be stepped on. Not at all. Non-violence is you choose to be non-violent, and from this courage and from freedom, you choose to act in a non-violent way. So, if we think about non-violence, and if I think about like the embodiment of non-violence, Ahimsa, as a human, I would say Mahatma Gandhi can be the top Ahimsa practitioner, if you can say this. You can see that through all his non-violent revolution and movement towards the independence of India, all the movement was made from this center, from the center and from non-violence. And it was such a huge movement, and of course, he got killed. No, it's like he's a truly embodiment of Ahimsa. So it would be nice to follow his steps and to know that he was a warrior in a sense that non-violence was completely present and such aware of his acts and acting deeply from the heart. The world is it's not used to this. But really in our depth, our true nature is love. So maybe it comes a time that we understand this and we start connecting more and more to our hearts and to act from the heart. So, why do we act aggressively? Where does aggression come from? From fear. Fear to be rejected, fear to not being respected, fear of being humiliated. At the end, it's a huge fear that makes us react and be aggressive. I will share a quote by Swami Shivananda, a Hindu spiritual teacher of Yoga and Vedanta. It says, "Fear is a great enemy of man. It is the enemy of his process. It disturbs his peace and harmony. It sucks or saps his vitality and energy. It drains the nervous system of its reserve of energy, and it produces weakness." So, yes, this fear to be rejected, to everything. And even in our society, we are so used to violence that we are constantly exposed to violence everywhere we go, everywhere, whatever we do. And it's just our mode of operating through this world. And of course, we have this violence deep within us, and we have our animal tendencies. So we need to purify our animal tendencies, and we need to purify our socially acceptable manners of behavior as well. So how can we do this? Again, this is a practice of continuous awareness, self-awareness, and meditation, and simply being aware in your daily life of how you act or how you react to certain circumstances. Even in society, it's accepted from time to time to that our actions, it's easy that our actions will hurt someone, and it's like, oh yes, we're used to that, to create even that little pain. Even in our daily life, in the books, in the movies we watch, in like everything goes towards this violence. And Tarantino movies, I mean, that's that's violence, and we're so used to like, yes. Okay, I really like Tarantino movies, but everything we see, everything we read, we absorb it somehow. So maybe if you want to see a Tarantino movie, then you will have to do a strong practice of purifying or spiritual singing or meditation for 12 hours. And that wouldn't even be enough. There is a Eastern saying that is referring to karma, that it says, one keeps wanting to eat mangoes, but all he does is keep on planting neem trees, neem seeds. That neem seeds are known to be very bitter. If we want mangoes, let's plant mangoes. We're constantly planting more and more violence instead of planting love and awareness. So there are many ways that we're violent with ourselves and with other people, starting with taking care of our physical body, resting enough, eating healthy, even in abuse of drugs, alcohol, coffee, and maybe when we practice yoga or we exercise in a non-aware way, can be violent. And also the tendency to constantly be resisting the present moment. That's a kind of violence too. So how can we live in a harmonious and loving and compassionate way? And how can we want that in our lives if we don't even know the root of this violence? So I invite you to make it do as a practice daily in your day to really be more aware of how you're acting, which words you say, even with yourself, if you're judging yourself, that's violence too. So, what can we do? We can start generating this awareness. And like, for example, if we have a violent diet, if we're eating something that was killed, you are somehow eating that violence. So we can try to have a better diet and just to have this attitude towards everything as, and this attitude of ahimsa, of non-violence. When we cultivate ahimsa, we amplify the bravery, our courage, self-confidence, patience, tolerance, love, kindness, forgiveness, trust, love, openness of the heart, transparency. And Buddha said, ahimsa is an attitude and it's the highest path. So if we want to start practicing, to have ahimsa as a practice is everything. So faith in non-violence gives us trust in love. And it raises awareness. We can increase freedom of choice and develop love and compassion. There is a beautiful story that our teacher Sahaja mentions in retreat. It's from the Buddhist tradition. and it makes obvious how the essential nature of humanity, what is the essential nature of humanity. So there were two monks crossing a river, and one of the monks sees a scorpion that is drowning. So he grabs him and he's about to put him in where he can survive. And just in that moment, the scorpion stings the monk, so he falls again to the water. So again, the monk starts to grab him to put him in the floor, and again he stings. And the other monk is just observing the monk, and he sees him and he says, "Don't you see that this is pointless? It's in the scorpion nature to sting you." And the monk replies, "Yes, I know, but it's in my nature to try to save him." And it's such a beautiful story where we can see this true love that we are. So I wanted to make a short practice. So if we can all close our eyes and we think in a time where you were aggressively challenged in a direct or indirect way. If you remember any situation, or if not, I will put a situation. You are in the street and someone very passive aggressive tells you you should use your mask all the time. Why do you have your nose out? Aren't you aware that you have to put the mask properly? No, like in a really violent way. You know? How would you react? What's the first thing that comes to you? You would react in a violent way, or how can you act not being involved in mental and physical and verbal violence? So I just let it there for you to simply stay with it and how you feel. I don't know how long we've been here. Okay, I think I have to close in. Another thing I wanted to share. It's about a contemporary psychologist, Marshall Rosenberg. I have his book here. He has this beautiful book. This is in Spanish, but it's a nonviolent communication as a way of life, and it helps so much to simply be aware of how we communicate daily and how easy it is to communicate violently in a way. And in his book, he explains and he gives a lot of practices to really embody nonviolence, starting in a verbal way. So I recommend him a lot. I think with this I will end. So just to recall the Ahimsa, non-violence, and how we can really choose to have a different perspective towards life and to deeply connect with ourselves and act from the heart, letting somehow the ego behind and simply listen to this unconditional love that we are. So this was kind of a vaguely talk about Ahimsa. In the next weeks you will have more about Ahimsa, a different perspective. I don't know if you have any questions or anything that you would want to share. You can write in the comments. Actually, I'm not sure if I see the comments or not. If there is no comment, or I'm not sure if I can't see the comments. The first time I do this in online Facebook. Okay, if there is no comment, or if I don't see the comment somehow, you can personally send a question to Kalian Yoga or to myself, and I would be very happy to speak about Ahimsa, because there are really so many things to say. So just remember to always follow your heart and act in a non-violent way, and to really deepen in Ahimsa as an attitude and to really embody it. So, thank you so much, and have a beautiful night or day wherever you are. Namaste.